live and active. Welcome to, this would be episode 3, pre-taped with, kick it over,
the
one and only Jared Morgan.
Yes, it is I.
How goes it, sir?
It's going good. Yeah, like I said, it was a bit of a interesting drive getting here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Many people say that.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting so many, like, pretty views.
Yeah.
You know, there were some really stunning views, but like I was telling Scott, there was definitely some opportunities for some spirited driving. So
That's right.
That was kind of fun,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
A lot of corners. A lot of corners out here.
As soon as you see a nice view, oh, my God, I got to turn.
Yeah.
Right.
You definitely have to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
It's so scenic out here that we have looky-loos, and they will pull off to the side of the road for photos. And like, I imagine that's what it's like in a vacation state, where people just pull over and start taking photos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like a vacation spot out here. Like it looked,
it
looked like there was a lake down there where people might
on
the party barges and stuff like that.
We've jet skis like right down the street.
Yeah,
we just go a little bit further,
So
and it's like a secluded spot where we just all chill out, and
it's pretty sick.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah,
a little bit envious.
But we've talked enough about me on this show that I don't have to say too much more.
Yeah,
everybody knows me.
But
they don't know you, or do they? They may.
I think they
may.
But we're gonna make it to where they know you.
I think that the thing that I like about this show is that we're able to like bring a lot of our audience into the light of like mountain biking around.
Right.
And I think that it really has been kind of like a discovery phase for a lot of the people that we interface with. Is like what is mountain biking around here, and there's so many different facets of it, and in those so many different facets there's so many different people.
There really is.
And you being one that I thought it was so crazy that I actually own 2 polygons that I purchased from BikesOnline, and I had met you and I had no idea you work for BikesOnline.
Yeah.
Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah, it's funny how it all works sometimes like that.
Yeah. So how did that happen?
Oh man, it goes way back, which is the most fascinating part about it, because like sometimes this is going to get almost like philosophical, but some of the most infinitesimal like decisions that you make in life end up snowballing and erupting into something much greater. So like initially the way this all began is, in 2020, right as the pandemic was starting, I wanted to start watering a YouTube channel, a personal YouTube channel. And the easiest way to do that, because obviously it was a mountain biking channel.
Yeah.
I should preface by saying that. But the easiest way to do that is reviewing everybody's bikes, right? So I was just kind of scrambling around, contacting all these guys I knew that were buying bikes, because everybody was buying bikes right then. Like that was like the thing to do, because we're all stuck at home.
And what year was this?
2020.
This is in 2020. Okay, gotcha.
2020, yeah. So one particular friend that I had, though, he was displaced due to a storm. Now, I was in southeast Louisiana, so we were very often dealing with the hurricane drama and stuff like that.
Right.
So one of my buddies, he was displaced for a storm because he worked for Entergy, and anyway, he was helping like repair post-storm. But he had a bike that was being shipped via FedEx that he wasn't going to be home to sign for, so it was stuck at a FedEx hub. And he's like, bro, look, I know that you know me pretty well. My bike is stuck over at FedEx. Would you be willing to pick it up for me? I know that's a bit of an inconvenience. I was like, well, sure, dude, but like, my situation as well. Like, I have to unbox it and review it. Like, are you cool? Are you cool with that? He's like,
since I have the opportunity,
that's the trade-off.
I was like,
I kind of need this.
I was like, yeah, like I'll do it. Not a problem. Just let me review. And he's like, yeah, no, that's cool. Probably would be better if you built it anyway. So I went ahead and did that and reviewed it, and it happened to be a Polygon Siskiyou D5. And BikesOnline saw it. Their social media coordinator at the time saw it and was like, dude, that was a fantastic review. Like, we kind of need you to do it again. This was a year later. They reached out and they were like, we need you to do it again.
Oh, cool.
So we'll send you a T7, which is the trail bike.
Yeah.
And so I did it again, just reviewed the bike, and it also did really well. But yeah, just that one decision of being like, yeah, man, I'll go do a favor for you. Go pick this up from FedEx. Like,
Changed everything.
everything.
Yeah.
I could have easily said no. You know what I mean?
So
I
what
could've-
was the difference between reviewing your buddy's bike as opposed to reviewing a bike that Polygon's actually sending you? Was there a little more anxiety behind it, a little more pressure?
A little bit, but at the time, like, man, I was just kind of coming up at the perfect storm because, again, that was like big COVID boom. Everybody wanted bikes. Everybody was itching to buy bikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I knew
I was there
when they sent me that T7 that it was going to be a successful review, whether I killed it in production or not.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for me, the timing was perfect because, you know, there was no stock to be had. There were no bikes to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's just like itching, fiending to buy a bicycle. And when my review came out, stock broke loose at the same time. So all of these, I was scoring all of these affiliate sales. Like people were using my specific link to purchase,
Sure.
which kind of elevated me to legendary status within BikesOnline. Because within 1 year, I had sold $300,000 worth of bikes for them.
That's amazing.
Which is a lot. I had no clue though. It was all relative to me because like I had no clue what was good or what was bad.
you didn't know what marker you were going up against.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. But now, you know, now I'm in the position I'm in now, and like our best are doing now. Obviously, the market has changed a lot, right?
A lot.
A
Yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah.
But our best, you know, they're doing around half that, and I was like, okay. So I really,
So you really did.
killed it that year.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So it's just funny
That's
looking
great.
back.
Yeah. And then we should preface this for everybody because I don't think we actually commented on it. This is Cure Cycling, your YouTube channel.
Correct. Cure
That
Cycling
you
was
got
my
this from.
personal YouTube
Yep.
channel, which is where the BikesOnline Polygon stuff began. I started as an affiliate for them, where they would send me the occasional bikes like we
Right.
mentioned, and eventually it snowballed to where I'm at now, which I'll just go ahead and preface that as well.
Sure.
Within BikesOnline, I'm their YouTube host. So the face on YouTube and socials. I'm their social media coordinator. So I run all the social media, and I am the affiliate manager. So I started off as an affiliate. Now I'm the guy managing all of the affiliates. So all the people that we send bikes to on
Nice.
YouTube,
Yeah.
I kind of take care of them, make sure that they're getting the bikes that they need, the attention that they need, and all this and that. So
Very cool.
yeah,
That's
it's a big
cool.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
Mhm.
Do you think that blueprint is the same now in today's times, or do you think that was like a COVID kind of opportunity, like they stumbled across you as an opportunity? And it's also obviously an opportunity for you because look where you are now. But
Yeah, it's hard to say like if it would have panned out the same without
COVID.
the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it was like a perfect storm, which allowed, you know, the eyes to follow me. I think I always had the necessary prerequisite skills and the drive or what have you to be successful in the role. I just don't know if like without that situation, if light would have ever been shown on me. Like that was the flashlight, right? That
Yeah, it was
made them
the
say,
it was
"Oh,
the
that's-
right place, right
that's
time.
the guy.
That's
Yeah.
the guy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
we're in the same situation with skateboard manufacturing, you know, so we can totally relate to just, you know, everything just piling on your lap to the point where you just go, we have to tell you no, you know, because the orders and the manufacturing requests were just through the roof.
Which in bike terms, because oddly enough, I was buying a bike during those times. I was buying a bike from BikesOnline during those times. So the interesting part about it was that I was willing to wait. Like as a buyer, when I got on, I was like, you know, I think that at that time, the delay was 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months seems
That sounds about right.
2021.
And some companies were worse than that. You know, 6 months
Yeah.
to a year, depending on what models you were after. It was
Right.
crazy. And that was one thing that we did have a leg up on was with the timing. We were getting them out sooner, which helped
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, and I mean, that was the thing that I actually, I kind of turned into an advocate myself for BikesOnline because and I actually encourage this for any business. If you have the ability to set a deadline, set something that you can beat. Because if you beat it, the customer is stoked.
Right.
Like, oh, wow, you delivered it like a week earlier than you said you were.
Yeah.
And like that's what happened to me 2 times.
Under promise, over deliver.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that myself. I think that is a huge thing in any business model.
Sure. And I can say I got the feel goods.
Yeah.
I got the feel goods from Bikes Online.
Yeah.
So I bought twice. So I bought 2 bikes from Bikes Online. So
yeah. No, that's rad.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I think one of the things that I am really interested in is how, and I guess a question before it would be, when did you move to Northwest Arkansas?
So that would have been at the beginning of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being in the position that you're in Northwest Arkansas, like do you feel like you're in like a hot spot? Does this feel like you're in a hot spot for capturing mountain biking? This area being what it is, does it feel like it's advantageous?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm from Southeast Louisiana, where there was no riding.
Zero riding.
Where local to my house, my local spot was an hour and a half away, which is at Bogachita State Park, which shout out to them. Like what they're doing there is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible work and incredible trails. And, I got to participate a lot in that development before I left. But, now my local trails are only 20 minutes out and it's Bentonville, which is a complete game changer. I mean, the filmability is off the charts. Like, not only are the trails amazing, but they're like optically polished, like a lot of people refer to Bentonville as like the Disneyland or the Disney World of mountain biking. And I tend to agree because like optically it's beautiful. It makes for like really good shots. So yeah, it's a game changer for filming.
I couldn't agree more. Because this is going into my next question about capturing content. It's so picturesque, but it's also so close. So capturing content that's got to be some sort of benefit to this, because like you're saying, the time that it takes you to get to a trail, to set up, to film something, and to get back to your house, edit it, get it out.
Yeah.
It's gotta be beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like not only from the optic standpoint, but from a workflow standpoint, you're absolutely correct. Like everything's so accessible and easy to get to. Like I have, certain things that I'll frequent to showcase a bike. Like, let's just say if I need a tech line at Dragon Scales, like you can kind of just walk up the back end of that trail and just nail those last 3 gardens. Looks incredible.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And there's like no setup time whatsoever. You just pull the camera out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely works. It's a game changer for sure.
The other thing is the optics. I think that I do want to like touch on it. That's such a cool concept to think about, like how visual our trails are in comparison to like a single hand cut single track.
Yeah.
Right.
That most trails frequent or have. Sorry, most areas.
Right,
have.
which is a lot of hand cut. Single track is fantastic trail. Like you can have some of the most exciting times in that. And we have a lot of that too. Like, but the fact of the matter is a lot of those trails are unshootable, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm cutting a video at Mad Hatter, and I think that it's a term that I wasn't really familiar with until I started riding mountain bikes around here, but dirt ribbons.
Yeah.
Like when you visually, optically, you see on camera when you're shooting around here, the dirt ribbon.
Yeah.
Because it is just this wavy, curvy thing on camera that just looks amazing on camera, and single track just doesn't have that same visual appeal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like on Jesse's Last Stand, it has a really substantial dirt ribbon, like from the top of that trail.
Looking down?
Yeah, you can set a camera up at the top and like literally
down the scope,
get 5 shots out of that. Like,
I love that.
Because it just keeps on going and going.
All the way to the bridge,
Yeah,
that's a great one.
It's killer.
Yeah. We hit Jesse's quite a bit.
Yeah.
They just redid it too.
I've heard it was revised. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to check it out.
Yeah, it's
though.
pretty cool. The last jump is pretty good. The berm, the little S turn to the final jump
Yes.
is a little different. It's not so
Oh,
much
really?
a berm anymore.
Did they change it
it's just
up?
flat. It's like just a flat thing.
Oh.
And and when you approach it, it seems like it's gonna be dusty and slippery because it's not. It doesn't have that little.
It doesn't have the catch berm to it.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
doesn't have that. So it's a little weird at first.
Well, I know that I break into that every time. I'm hauling up to it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then pulling in. I lost all my speed.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might just be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure whatever they did was intuitive. It might look weird, but normally every time they revise, I find that it's for the best.
Oh yeah.
And the trails end up running better, and they're
Everything
way more
ends up
intuitive.
being better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the guys that are out here doing it, I don't know how they've acquired so much knowledge. I guess it's just over time, but like the trails are ridiculous.
Well, we actually had Ethan and Robbie on from Trailblazers.
Oh yeah,
They're actually the ones that are coincidentally doing that fix,
Yeah.
the repairs on that.
Ethan's awesome.
Yeah.
And you speak of intuitive trail redesign. Like that's one of the things that we touched on in that episode was, like you said, it's after the trails ran for a little bit, you can clearly like look back and see what was wrong, what needed to be fixed, what needed to
Well,
be
like he had
addressed.
mentioned, a lot of times you got to let a trail ride through a couple seasons to see how it holds up with the different temperatures and weather,
Right.
and then you can reassess going, okay, that didn't hold up during the winter at all, and we have to like redo it.
Pretty
Yeah.
intuitive.
You know?
What's interesting though is like, and I find that it's not the same everywhere, but it's definitely a thing here with the guys and the way that they cut these trails and the way that they get them figured out over time. Like you can literally just kind of have faith in their building,
Sure.
and like just you really can just go like straight in, not have to pre-ride re-ride so much because like they've
You
got
know it.
everything so dialed.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Medieval, they just revised that one. And for the longest, I was being a little bit of a ninny about the last jump because it's big
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a pretty tall lip. And I was finally like, you know what? I need to just have faith in what these guys have built because
Mhm.
everyone's running this. Everyone's been successful and like just see what they made. And yeah, I just gave it and dang.
And it was there.
Let it roar, man.
Yeah.
That's
right.
I've been in that same boat. You kind of couple feathers, and then pretty soon when you hit that second to last one and you just take it, you're just like, and you're like, it's beautiful.
It floats.
Yeah,
it's
floats.
perfect.
Huh?
There's
And-
nothing to be afraid of because they've got it sorted. Like the
Mhm.
builders are just ace.
And I think that has a lot to do with riding somebody's style of build. I got used to a couple, or like the way that Jagged X built some of their jumps, and
Where's that? Where do they build?
so that would be like they did Passion Play,
Okay.
and they did the remodel of DH1, DH2,
Okay.
Leatherwood.
Yeah.
And so like that whole first section of DH1 where it's all jumpy,
Mm-hmm.
like there's like a few jumps in a row, like they did all that stuff, and that was one of the things that I guess it was where I was first shown that you can learn the way a trail builder builds their jumps, and you can become attuned to that, and it becomes predictable.
Mhm.
You say, oh, I know what this is going to feel like, so I know I can throw it in just like this and know what to expect coming out of it.
Well, so like who did Air Raid? Because wasn't it,
Dirt
because
Logic.
because you're saying that
Gravity Logic.
Gravity
Gravity
Logic.
Logic.
Gravity
I think you're right. You might be right.
and I
You might
think
be
a
right.
lot of people had a hard time adjusting to that lippiness that they put on the
Sure.
last one.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. The Gravity Logic trails,
Mhm.
they are different.
Yo, yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well, because
I,
they come from
I,
BC, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get along with those as well. I don't know if they're
Mhm.
using a different
Mhm.
radius or like
Sure.
what's going on there. But yeah,
probably
They are
is,
a little
yeah.
different. They are
Yeah,
a little different.
Radius is there, and I think that's one of the things where this area being a tourist-driven ride zone,
yeah.
it is difficult to have sendy jumps because people can get hurt. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Fitzgerald
Oh, yeah.
Bridges Out
Wild.
which is Bridges In now,
Yeah, yeah.
is was from what I was told by somebody in Trailblazers, was one of the most recorded injuries in 1 year. Whenever the moon booter was there, and it was the rock
I remember
lip.
seeing videos of that trail before it got tamed, and it was a real deal. At least it looked like it on film.
I mean, the jump, aptly named moon booter, it put you up there. And I mean, I was actually kind of disappointed because when I was ready to do it and I had the skill level to do it, it was gone. I was so bummed.
That is the Achilles heel of like progression out here, because things change so quickly. Like I'm finally in the mind frame, for example, of the little step up drop in the skills park, and that one's gone. I never got around to it.
Yeah, the step up. Yep, that one's
all good.
I liked it because it was very kind of skate parky.
Yeah, and I could see that.
And I felt at home on it, and I actually did that pretty quickly, but I think it was because I had skate park like background.
Yeah,
so like quarter pipes.
Yeah,
like, didn't really scare me or anything.
Yeah, which I don't, and that's what took me so long. I have a lot of BMX and skate background too, but it was all street. So like transitions,
pair together,
and radius jumps, none of that. We never did that. We just hopped ourselves off of ledges. That's all we did.
Very BMX.
Yeah,
it's very BMX.
There was a cool town in southeast Louisiana. Oh man, it was somewhere between Biloxi and Baton Rouge, and it had a college there because I used to work for a textbook company.
No wait, Slidell maybe?
No. In fact, I think the college was Southeast Louisiana State University.
Southeastern? That would be Hammond.
Yes, Hammond.
That's where my wife's from.
Okay.
There we go.
They have a killer skate park there.
Oh, really?
They do. Yeah. So that's where Terry Adams is from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. We skated at that park every time I went to that college. We'd stay there and just.
What's interesting is I think now that particular park that you're referencing is skateboarding. Oh, well, you were skating it. You said.
Yeah. Skating
it's skate only. They don't allow bikes.
Any bikes?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Skate only.
And they had a little skate shop called Small Time Skate Shop there, right in the downtown area.
It's very segregated in its ways.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, because I remember wanting to go check it out, but I was a BMXer at the time, so I couldn't. But yeah, I dabbled in both. I just think that I had more skill on two wheels than I did on skateboards. I love the culture and I love skateboarding, but I'm just not that great at it. And sometimes you just gotta accept it.
Yeah,
it's a common story. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, like I think what killed it for me is tray flips.
Oh yeah. When you started getting into like where you should be doing a tray flip and you're not.
I couldn't get them. Like it just took. I must have tried. Like I think I've landed like 3 in my entire life with tens of thousands of attempts. Yeah, and it's just so grueling. Like it's a mental battle.
It is. I think that's one of the things I just got done doing a skate edit. I'm working on the Mad Hatter edit, and I just got done doing a skate edit before that. Yeah, and with mountain biking, you land a lot of stuff.
Yes,
like predominantly most clips are somebody landing something.
Yes, you get way more makes per attempt on mountain biking than you do in skateboarding.
That's right. I deleted a lot of bails.
Yes,
that's why mountain biking was such a great transition for me. Thanks to him, it was Corona time, and I'm in San Diego, and he comes out in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Him and my girlfriend convinced me that you're gonna love it. So, had a hard time finding a large anywhere.
Yeah. During 2020,
we found one, and I was hooked immediately. And it is a lot like skating minus the, falling and crashing like 10 times a session in skateboarding, as opposed to, a bail on a bike is every once in a while. I mean, granted,
you can go months.
Yeah,
you can go months.
But when you get one, it's rough.
Yes.
Yeah,
no doubt.
When you get one,
it's rough, but it's not as often. But
it's definitely easier to throw wins on the board.
Yeah, and I feel like I excelled with it pretty fast. For me and what my expectations were for myself. I never thought I'd be jumping medieval jumps and stuff, or doing a 1-footer or whatever.
Bro,
I'm like,
same.
Yeah.
But that I also credit a lot of that to Bentonville because like I was
Sure.
I was trying
That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
in Louisiana, but it wasn't happening. But
Yeah.
out here, it happened.
The environment is structured to get somebody leveled up. Like I think that anybody that comes here probably can admit that when they came here, they leveled up.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like there wasn't a single jump I could clear.
Mhm.
Not a single one.
Mhm.
And it started small, like a jump on Family Flow. Then it was All American Heroes. Now we're at Medieval. And
That's
like,
so great.
I told my wife before we moved here, I said, I'll die before I ever hit anything like Drop the Hammer. I literally thought that would never
I'd
happen.
never do it. Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm like,
me neither.
no problem.
It took me a
wild.
long time to do it after moving here, and I just moved here in May of 2022.
Right.
Yeah,
You heard the story about how I kind of got forced into it, huh?
I saw the
Riches content.
riches content and how it all built up
How it
to
transpired. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But what's so funny is like the part that people don't know is like we filmed that on a Wednesday, and the way that it boiled down to is he just called me. He's like, hey, it was a Monday. He called me. He's like, hey, we're gonna film a series about you dropping the hammer. We're gonna film it all on Wednesday, aka like in 2 days. I had to
figure it out.
AKA, you're doing it on
Well,
Wednesday. I hope you know
honestly,
that.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, okay. Like, what?
I'm curious because I think he might agree with me, but I feel like the rail yard practicing was probably more gnarly than the actual
Absolutely.
drop the hammer itself.
Absolutely.
Those drops
Mhm.
look crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really short, really tall, and then like the transitions like whoop, like
yeah,
super
just
tight.
sing. Yeah.
Super tight.
And I
Not-
just look at it and go, risk reward's not there for me. Forget it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're
Right.
super sketchy. I probably wouldn't do them again because there's no real point.
Mhm.
But
exactly.
yeah, at the time, like those are my stepping stones. Like
Mhm.
When you're new to it, I think you just look at the height. Like you're not
Mhm.
really worried about the structure. You're just like, yeah, I understand that this 6-foot drop is probably sketchier, but it's only 6 feet.
That's
It's not,
interesting.
It's not 12.
Every time I look at the rail yard, I don't even look at the drops. I just look at the
Height.
landings are terrible.
Oh
They're
right,
just so
yeah, the
fast and
roll
short.
in, yeah, the trajectory,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
they're no doubt sketchy.
mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point that you don't, when you're thinking about a drop, you always think about just how high it is, but
Mhm.
you don't really assess the landing of it, which is why Drop the Hammer is so easy,
Mhm.
because
Right.
you literally, it's as if you were rolling into a hill,
Right.
but you're just skipping the first part.
Yeah, they just erased it.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
section.
all
That's
you have
right.
to do is train your mind to forget about the gap, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Because if you just put something there, you would do it in a heartbeat, and you wouldn't touch the something
Yeah.
that was there.
Or
You wouldn't-
or the simple fact that, like you were saying about like the height, like if somebody said, hey, I want you to drop off this, but it's to flat, you'd be like, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna
It
blow
would-
my bike up.
yeah, it
Yeah.
would feel crazy too.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would not feel good. But
Yeah. And Drop the Hammer feels pretty good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so funny, like the paradigm shift, because I remember people telling me that they're like, yeah, if you did that, the middle drop in Skills Park, you can easily do Drop the Hammer because that's sketchier. And I was like, no way, bro.
That doesn't make
No
sense.
way.
And now,
It's just-
I'm that guy. I'm that guy
Yeah,
at the Skills
right.
Park saying, hell, you just hit
just
that
did that.
4-footer. Yeah, you can hit the hammer.
Yeah.
That's harder
I
than
tell
hammer.
people all the time, I'm like, I'm telling you, bro, it's
Mhm.
more bark than bite.
Yep.
And everybody just looks at me like,
It's the optics,
and I'm like,
man.
I'm telling you,
It is the optics.
They made it look
That's
scary
right.
on purpose. Like it's
Uh-huh.
just
Yep.
for photos and video. Like can't blame them. I mean, it looks
No.
sick.
It looks amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it films and photographs beautifully.
Oh, dude.
but
That's
it's quite a welcoming feature if you
The-
can just kind of get past that mental.
yeah,
barrier.
The second two
Yeah.
are more sketchy than Drop the Hammer itself.
Which one? The second?
The
Oh.
following two.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I would say the last one.
The last one.
The weirdest
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're pretty much that one is kind of a drop the flat.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I'd
you
still
have to
say
have
it's.
the right speed.
I'd still say it's better built than most drops out
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's.
I
by
bunny hop it. It's pretty chill.
Yeah, it's the most nuanced of the group for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think the other thing that makes, or at least it made me feel really comfortable, was hearing that it was engineered, like in like the drop, the ride itself was engineered. Oh
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they plug that into like CAD before
Mhm.
they
That's what I heard.
put a
too.
shovel down. Like, I mean, it's just so smooth.
That's right.
I heard it actually was maybe not AutoCAD, but something similar, and it's
Right.
just like, it's almost impossible to mess up unless you just let the front end just drop. Which, if you have any skills in mountain biking, you just don't do that. But
I witnessed during Bike Fest last year. I witnessed the scariest I've ever seen. Where someone just and she rolled up, and she just didn't have a lot of speed, and I'd never seen somebody roll that slow up to it, and looking at them knowing that they're going to do it, because you see people roll up to stuff that they're going to stop, and you're like, I can tell they're going to stop. Like, they're not going to do it. I thought she was going to stop. You're going to stop.
And she's like, nah.
And she didn't, and she almost just like.
Just kind of just.
It was sketchy.
It was like
Did she make it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did, and she did it again, and we were like, oh man, I don't want to watch.
And it was roughly the same speed.
Because I will say, if you do screw it up, you might get messed up pretty bad.
I think there has been some people that have fallen on it. I don't know.
I feel like there's only two ways that could happen: is if you had like a super rear wheel bias.
Yeah.
That could be problematic, or if you short it. Which you'd have to like hit brakes or go
very
super
slow.
Or just be super limp on the bars and just let your front
if you limped on the bars and dipped, that would be a scary drop to just let your front end dip on, because it really is far vertically.
Because if you go
just falling,
if you go OTB on that, you're toast.
It's gonna be tough.
Have some serious injuries. I'd rather road rash it out and squirrel and slide out or something.
Right.
Yeah, that would hurt, but you'd walk away from that.
Yeah. But yeah, so do you film at Drop the Hammer for Bikes Online stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's funny is like there were certain bikes and certain components, I guess I would say, that I always said, I would never try something like Drop the Hammer on like a RockShox Recon fork or something, right? And now I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah, for sure,
for sure. Fine.
Yeah, I mean, like the first time I did Drop the Hammer was on a hardtail, and then like
no way, huh?
And then I mean, I've seen people do it on like rigid bikes.
Totally. I just remember my first time I was like, I have to have an enduro bike. I want this to be as plush as possible.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be any like chance for mistakes. I knew the longer travel would like level the playing field a little bit.
For sure. Well, I was an idiot, and I had no idea what I was doing when I started riding. I just like dove in
I respect
haphazardly.
That, I have friends like that, and I have respect for that. That takes a special person.
Well, it definitely. I didn't know I had balls when I was doing it, because I was like going to Leatherwood with a hardtail, and
nice.
I got the looks.
I'm sure.
I got looked at.
What kind of hardtail?
Trek Roscoe 7.
Okay, so like a moderately prepared hardtail, I would say.
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
Than showing up on one of like the Marlins or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Really scary.
I mean, I was talking. I got the bike from Fat Tire Bentonville. Yeah, and I basically like laid out what I was gonna do. I said, like I'm a skateboarder. I have a pretty hefty BMX background. I used to do a lot of tricks. I don't imagine I'm going to do tricks, but I'm probably going to try tricks. And I'm probably going to throw this thing. And the guy was like, I got it. Don't spend too much money on your first bike, because you're going to break it.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That makes sense. And plus, another good point is if you decide the hobby's not right for you, the cheaper bikes are easier to resell than the expensive ones.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I actually appreciate about Bikes Online, is because you can get fitted to something pretty spec, I wouldn't say spec heavy, but like spec accommodating for a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, even border, like I would even argue pretty spec heavy now.
Okay,
like I just got a T9 in that I built up today. Like, which is a tier above your T8.
Yeah, T8. Yeah.
It's pretty solid. It's a Fox 36 Performance Elite up front. Floatex out back.
Okay.
The brakes are TRP DH Evos, I believe.
Okay. Not familiar with those.
Really, really solid spec. XT drivetrain on it. Like, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, because I put an XT on on the T8, and that was actually something that I was like, oh, this feels way better.
Yeah,
I needed to step up.
Yeah, so T9 has that stock, which is sick, and I think that one's now with the way things are now, you can get that bike for what you probably paid for a T8.
I think it was like
in COVID times.
Yeah. I paid $28.
Yeah, our T9 right now is $26.99, which is bonkers.
That's great. For
really
way more
value.
spec.
Yeah, times have changed.
Times have changed.
Right, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good value. There's only a few brands out there that kind of put everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons they can do that, and this is part of the reason why I think people misunderstand Polygon. Polygon is owned by a factory, so there's no middleman involved. A lot of bike brands are just a name and like almost like a marketing division, and then they pay a factory to make bikes for them, right? And then that cost gets passed down to the end user.
Right.
But that's not the case with Polygon. The factory owns the brand, so there is no middleman being paid. So that savings is passed on to the end user.
And they're like able to like roll out things quicker, less division between sales and manufacturing. Correct. There's a lot more transparency.
Yeah, it's way more streamlined, right? And then you combine that with the fact that it's a direct to consumer model, you save again. So
no wonder. Yeah,
that's
I was
why,
happy.
Yeah, that's why it's possible.
Yeah, well, and for me, I was it was unfortunate, but I was just looking at the bottom dollar, and I was like comparing it. I was just spec comparing. At one point, I was just like, what are we looking at in components? Because like that's really what a lot of times I feel like you're buying the bike, but you're not buying the components.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. Yeah. There's only a few factories producing all the bikes for the world.
Right.
And there are a lot, and I'm not at liberty to disclose, but there's a lot of name brand bicycles that people hold to a high regard that are coming out of the exact same factory that Polygon's coming out of.
Yep.
So you're not wrong by your methodology there of kind of shopping components per dollar. I mean, it's pretty much right. Yeah,
because I mean, if you were gonna buy a bike and you were intending on buying then upgrading, I mean, you're essentially now you're looking at just a different spec build of another bike brand potentially. So you could just compare, bike brands and their offerings inside of components and whatever scaling that is.
Yeah,
we were doing this with YT and when Scott was buying the YT stuff.
Sure. And I mean, you want to get along with the branding too. Like YT does a fantastic job as far as like marketing campaigns and stuff like that. And honestly, with value as well. Like we have to watch them pretty closely. They're pretty stellar. Yeah. But that's another part of it is like, if you're attracted to the marketing campaigns, you do at some point have to realize also that's you're paying for that.
That's part of the value.
Yeah, that's part of what you're paying for when you buy. So that's another interesting piece that I think a lot of people forget sometimes.
Sure. What's the relationship between BikesOnline and say Polygon? Like, is it a contract? Is it gonna last forever or?
I don't know that piece of it, but what I can tell you is that BikesOnline is the sole distributor of Polygon bikes for the United States, and I think possibly the sole distributor for Australia. I know that we have a big presence in Australia as well. I'm not there, so I don't know as well. But that BikesOnline is actually Australian based.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. It was started in a garage by two cyclists, and grew to what it is today, which is pretty impressive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't evaluate this with everything, but I did was when I was getting into researching BikesOnline and deciding to be a buyer, I looked at the brand and I really just thought it was an American company. Like and not that matters, but I at least didn't feel like that feeling of, like I was looking at Nuke Proof and I was like,
rest in peace.
I was like, I don't know if this is a wise decision.
Yeah. I mean, those are great bikes.
Yeah.
Nuke Proof made some awesome stuff. It's a shame what's has transpired with
but that was brand. I mean, when I was looking at buying that bike, that was 1 year before they were going to be out of business, 2 years before they were going to be out of business. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they knew, like the Bikes Online guys out of Australia, they know that that the US based presenters like just do better on a global scale, so that's why they hire mostly US based presenters like myself
Okay.
and Wendy, who's in Bend, Oregon. So yeah, that was intentional, where it seemed like it was US based, I would say.
That would make sense. I mean, there's just way more trails in the United States.
Well, it's also like the understandability part too. Like Phil was the previous host of Bikes Online, great guy, but even he will tell you, he's like, not everybody understands an Australian accent.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So that was
like
a part of it too.
The American accent is kind of understood in more areas.
I guess
like,
so, just because of like entertainment and stuff like that. I don't know the ins and outs
music.
of it. Mm-hmm. But I can attest to the fact that when I met with Phil for the first time, when I was becoming an affiliate and he was discussing sending me the T7, that some of the words he was saying were just going right over my head, and I was just smiling and nodding like, I actually can't understand you.
You didn't know what he was saying.
No, depending on
That's
how
great.
thick the accent is, like it's not that bad, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So like your time now, do you spend a lot of time on Bikes Online and in Cure is kind of like a secondary now?
So Cure Cycling is almost entirely passion project at this point. I haven't made anything in a while because I don't have a lot of bandwidth left.
Yeah. With what you give to Bikes Online.
Yeah, we're doing so much with Bikes Online behind the scenes, and a lot of it's going to be coming to fruition in the next couple of months. We've been onboarding so many influencers. Like we're about to, I would say, like explode. Like I think we've got some really amazing things in the works, and it's just the floodgates about to open.
That's cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
So do you think that now you're kind of seeing like maybe like a fusing of what you were doing for Cure into Bikes Online? It's almost like you're giving
absolutely
that portion of your asset
absolutely
value.
Yeah, like it's almost like that was my training ground and I didn't even know it.
That's
like
great.
And what's so exciting about the role also is, like I told you, I'm an affiliate manager, so I oversee the YouTubers that we send the bikes to, and like having that firsthand experience of being an affiliate in the past allows me to relate to them in a way that they've never seen before. Like I get messages from all the affiliates that I oversee. They're like, dude, thank you so much for like being so connected. This is the only affiliate program where I feel like I'm actually being nurtured and like being told how to grow and how to sell and all this and that. And I was like, yeah, I just want to, essentially I just want to be the affiliate manager that I would have appreciated when I was an affiliate.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's a really feel good thing we've got going on. It's cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what's anything new coming down the pipeline? Any new models?
Yeah. So I actually, we made a post today. We are introducing a new bike brand. I'm not at a point where I can say which bike brand that is, but what I can say is that it's never been in American soil. It's very popular in Europe. Never been in America. So we're bringing that in, which is going to be, I think, pretty huge. The offerings are not necessarily super exciting for someone like me. We're kind of leaning into more like road, gravel, cross-country, full suspension, but there is one really sick like all-mountain enduro e-bike that they offer that I'm really stoked on that one. I think that one's going to be a big one, like a big value proposition winner when it gets released.
Yeah,
I'll start teasing that one, I think, next week.
Okay. Yeah, because I think my question for that was value comparison, in comparison to Polygon Marin.
I don't know exactly where it's going to fall. I can tell you that in comparison to what this bike brand is going for in other markets, it's going to be a killer value.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Bikes Online is going to offer its value, pass it along to customer.
Correct. Yeah. It's going to be a good deal for sure. They're all going to be pretty stellar.
That's great. I'm always a big fan of, I think the company that we work for is very much like this, where we have the ability to pass savings along to a customer, and especially a customer base that needs it. And, for me, I wanted to take riding seriously. I wanted to get a serious bike, but I knew I didn't have the money for it.
Right.
So like BikesOnline was literally the answer.
And that's our lane, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. A lot of people will ask us, why are you only carrying Polygon? Why don't you add more brands? Because our mantra is that maximum value, and like not every brand aligns with that. So we can't just
that's great.
take in all these brands and then blow a hole in your pocket. Like that's not the game.
There's actually very little that do. I mean, most of the stuff is just insane.
Well, I mean, you brought this up, YT. I mean, YT actually has been pretty competitive in pricing. And when I was again, I'm such a big advocate for BikesOnline and Polygon. So like, I'm always trying to sell people on it. And when we always try to like onboard people and like, oh, hey, look at this bike. See how affordable it is. And we would, be in our chat kind of throwing each other links. And the YT stuff was like nearly, like
it all starts going into the component specs.
Yeah,
and you're
that's
just
right.
Like, look at the upgrades you're getting with
that's right.
BikesOnline or YT, as opposed to something else like Yeti or Canyon or something.
Santa Cruz.
It's like Santa Cruz, you're paying like $1,000 more, and the components are like
transition
a downgrade.
Yeah,
it's like makes no sense.
And I mean, you're paying for convenience at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need a brick and mortar shop when their bike is messed up.
Sure,
they can just walk in and be like, "Fix this," And I understand that. And
yeah,
for some people that holds value, but that's not necessarily our buyers. Like
absolutely,
our buyers are the folks that are looking for, I want the most bike possible for my money.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to turn a wrench here and there, that sort of thing. Like that's me. That's our buyers.
And that was me. And I felt, like, not, shout out to our homeboy Danny. I did a lot of damage to my bike and just like gave it to him and like, please fix this for me.
Sure.
But like, when I got a new bike, I said, I don't need a bike shop. Like, no offense, bike shop, but like, I didn't, where I needed the value, the savings implemented, I didn't need a bike shop. Yeah. I didn't need a bike shop to set it up for me. I can figure out all that stuff. And actually, just shout out to BikesOnline, the prep work for that, for the buyer was so great. I mean, I really did not have to do much. Like
you put the front wheel on, you put your bars on, you put the seat post in, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. You gotta like bed. I think you have to bed the brakes.
Yeah. Because we want it to be a new bike when it gets to your door.
Yeah.
We don't want them to show up and have like a wear pattern done.
Right. Yeah.
Like people
makes a lot of sense.
Misunderstand that and say, "Oh, this bike's used."
Oh,
right. Gotcha.
That's a trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a trip. Yeah. Didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
But also too, like, I said to myself, like, it was so easy to set the bike up that, what's bedding in the brakes, like that's totally fine. And actually, I think, I'm not a bike mechanic, but I think that you do want to bed per your weight. So it's like your weight that your rider weight that you're bedding the brakes in, and like how much you're laying into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different schools of thought with bedding and brakes.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
I kind of followed the method I learned from Rich, who I worked for a while.
Oh, cool. Gotcha.
Yeah, which just kind of ride up and down the street and just pulse it like 30 or 40 times until the brakes are grabby enough to where once you pulse it, it'll
locking
lock up.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you're good.
Gotcha.
Seems to work pretty well.
I didn't do that. Or at least not like that. I was very much more caveman with my
I get it.
bedding.
Yeah, and a lot of people are. Yeah, I don't. I think there's multiple ways to skin a cat, like they say. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that's one of the things that I was like drawn to with BikesOnline is that I was like kind of like on my own journey.
Yeah.
And it felt like, like, and many people in their buying journey, they might need a bike shop. They might need that person to walk them through, advise them, set things up, set their sag, like whatever. Mm-hmm. And I felt like when I got it, I was like, this is my journey. I'm figuring this out. I mean, that was the first time I bedded brakes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I
So,
mean, we do
yeah.
still offer that tech support if you want it. Like, we have a phone number and a chat you can get on. But
Okay, cool.
some people, they need that face-to-face interaction, which I totally understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't, but I do remember using the customer service chat window, and it was actually like one of the more helpful ones. You hit those up all the time with like, we have to call FedEx all the time. It's the worst thing in the world.
So do we.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you a pro at filing a claim? Because I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why am I pro? I said that many times. Why am I pro at this?
More options. Even more options.
I actually have like the direct line for like the local reps and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have their cell phone numbers. I just call them up like, hey, I've got a problem.
My thing is calling. You don't call customer service. Don't call like the global customer service. You just call a local FedEx.
Correct.
Speak to somebody there, and you're way more connected at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's how I play the game now.
I had no idea. That like I had a shipment go. It was San Diego to Dallas, and I could not talk to anybody online, but I could completely talk to my local Springdale manager, and she helped me with all kinds of stuff. So
well, just so you know, the global
tips.
number, the first prompt say options. Then when it speaks again, say more options. When it speaks again, say even more options. Then when she speaks again, don't say anything, and you go directly to a person.
Whoa.
It works every time.
I'm going to need you to text me that after this.
Yeah,
Because I might need to
you
employ
get a
that
person
method as well.
every time. I found it on Reddit.
That's great. You would find it on Reddit.
I found that on Reddit.
Nobody knew that this was going to be tips and tricks for getting through FedEx customer service.
So much value in this podcast.
So much value.
Yeah, you heard it here first on Naturally Gnar.
Great.
FedEx tricks and tips.
That's great. Is it FedEx? Do you guys ship with FedEx? Like everything?
At least bikes. I don't get enough like parts and accessories yet. Which, by the way, huge development this year as well as the parts and accessory stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like we've
that's
got
great.
Fox, Marzocchi, DVO, Magura.
Okay.
Lots of parts and accessories.
So here's a question I got. I got a Polygon Trid, and the dropout lockers. I lost one of them, and BikesOnline told me that I was gonna have to get that from Polygon, and that was actually very difficult. I still actually have not yet got that part. Could that part be purchased in this, or are you just speaking about just parts, like component parts?
I might be able to dig deeper for your situation, but
Yes.
no, like I'm speaking mainly on like components and stuff like that. Like,
Okay.
When you think of, let's just say like Jensen USA, for example, like you go there to get a shiny new set of bars or a Fox Factory Kashima fork. Like we have all that now too.
So you're saying more like online bike part retail.
Correct.
Okay.
And we are looking for brands that align with our mantra, and we're putting out some really crazy deals. Like
Cool.
I don't know if we have any left, but we for a little bit we were running some Marzocchi Z1 bombers. They're normally like I think like $750.
Oh yeah.
We were cleaning them out for like $300.
What?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. So we've got some crazy. We still have more crazy deals, but those are gone. But that was just an example.
Okay. Okay. Man, another more examples of passing deals along to the customer.
Yeah, if it's available, we have a dedicated parts buyer now who's that's his job. He's just scoping for deals on inventory that we can acquire and pass to the end user for like a killer deal. And
that's so great.
Luckily, with the way, well, not luckily, but luckily for the consumer, there's a lot of that out there right now. How long it'll go on, I don't know, but
sure.
There's a lot of great deals. It's definitely a buyer's market in mountain biking right now.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Does BikesOnline have any sort of analytics that speak to the trajectory of sales? Like
they definitely do.
Okay.
I don't have access to them, but I hear them I hear it jumbled around sometimes. Like if we have this gravel bike coming out, it's projected to sell really well.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have those metrics.
Okay.
I don't know much about them though.
Okay.
It's different. That's a different scope.
Well, and I guess where my curiosity takes me is, does Bikes Online see Northwest Arkansas as value like you do?
That is a great question. I think that it played a major role in me going full time for them,
Mhm.
because they definitely saw the value in terms of like the content I could create. I have planted many a seed for future tents
There we go.
about that.
Okay.
Like we should consider making some sort of brick and mortar presence in Bentonville. Specialized is doing it. YT's doing it, and they're aware. But I think just right now, when the market's in such a contractionary stage, it's hard to take on a risk like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's
Maybe
a lot of money
in the
involved.
future.
Mhm.
I think they know, because like they even wanted to try to come out to Bentonville Bike Fest this year, but just because of the way the market is, we're playing it safer. They're going to go to Sedona and what's the other one?
Sea Otter?
Sea Otter.
Yeah.
Because our home office in the States is based out of Carlsbad.
Oh, right.
That's a 1-day drive.
Mhm.
It's much more. It's affordable.
That's achievable.
Yeah. No risk there, and it could
Sure.
still
It-
reap
it's
some
not
really
easy
solid
getting
results.
Here. It's actually
No,
kind of
it isn't.
expensive.
It is
Mhm.
expensive
Mhm.
because, and like when I went to visit Carlsbad, my ticket was absurd because you got to fly first. You have to do connected flights.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
got to go to a major hub to get. To
Yeah,
San
yeah. I had to
Diego.
go to XNA to DFW, then DFW to San Diego, and
Mhm.
it was pricey, man.
Yep.
Shout out to them for paying for that ticket, because there's no way I could have.
Yeah, and our factory's in Tijuana, so we usually drive.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
where-
that's right across the border, like from like SoCal area, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
15
Mhm.
minutes inside the border, so and then we want to bring our bikes anyways because we're connected out there and we
Yeah.
always ride with a bunch of people. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get back out there, man. It's really cool. I didn't get to see San Clemente. I wanted to ride out there. I heard it was really really
that's really fun.
really rad.
And then they've built so much stuff there that I haven't even seen yet. But,
Really?
I mean, I kind of started my journey on jumping there lots of times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to check it out again. The only riding I did while I was there for a very short time was at Luisenio Bike Park, which is pretty
Yeah.
recent.
Yeah. New.
Yeah.
Oh, so you rode it when it was new, probably.
I think
Yeah.
so. It was
Yeah.
Oh,
November.
you had to.
I think
you
I
had to have.
remember
Yeah.
you
November?
posted about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't ride much of it. There
I think
wasn't
it
a whole lot of
opened
time.
in June or July.
Yeah,
June. Yeah,
That
June,
sounds
so
right. Yeah.
It was only a few months.
it's different out there, man. Like even a green trail was like kind of spooky for me just because of the
The
elevation.
terrain.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's like very consequential elevation. It's like if my focus lapse is here, I could die
Mhm.
because it's high up, bro. And
You're up there.
yeah, and there's
Mhm.
no trees to grab. Like you're just gonna.
It's more
You're just gonna.
deserty
Yeah.
rocks
Thorns.
You're just gonna tumble.
and shrubs and rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnakes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gnarly, dude. So
Yeah.
it was definitely different in that regard.
And you can just see, and the sun's on you. You're not like in the trees or anything. It's totally different.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see it being very easy to get dehydrated out there.
Mm-hmm.
I had like cotton mouth after one run.
Even like just coming out here to visit my daughter before I moved out here, and we brought our bikes and rode Kohler and stuff. And man, I go, man, I'm gonna suck when I go back, man, because everything's just it is so polished here,
Yeah.
But actually, I was better.
Yeah, I think.
Oddly enough.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I definitely want to go back and try it again. It's just that, like I said, it was such an adjustment. I
Mhm.
rode on this truck for 30 minutes and went up to this massive mountain, and it's all super exposed,
Mhm.
and like the whole trail looks almost like moon dusty. Like it looks like you wouldn't get traction in it.
Mhm.
And like all the switchbacks didn't have like a catch berm or anything. I was like, this is all so high consequence. Like it's not a hard trail,
Uh-huh.
but the consequence is there.
Yeah.
So and
Definitely different.
it is. And
Mhm.
everybody asked me when I got to the bottom, they're like, what'd you think of it? I was like, I don't know, because like I look at everything as like risk versus reward, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I look at it in that scope of analysis, and I was like, the reward was like a 5. The trail wasn't like super fun because again, it was a green.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much just kind of had rollers and turns.
Mhm.
But the consequence, I was computing it like an 8.
Mm-hmm.
because of the exposure and the wind, and I just wasn't used to that.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's different, and there's a lot of other places there that are even more gnar because
I'm sure
they don't get the maintenance, and the maintenance they do get is just shovels, rakes, and wheelbarrows. It's no machines. I mean, I think up there they got machines.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, Luisenio was nice, super polished.
Plush. Yeah.
It was pretty, and like that.
San Clemente is no machines. It's all just a group of guys with sandbags and shovels and rakes, and they do a fine job. Don't get me wrong. But
it looks fun, man.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't look nearly as like elevated or as exposed as this bike park that I was at.
San Clemente is a little different because than most of the spots out there because the climb is after. It's when you get to the bottom. Everything starts on top, so you can park in a parking lot, go over the little hump, and you're like starting. Yeah, and then it's you're going into a valley and coming back out, and the climb back out is rough, like e-bike all the way for me.
E-bike all the way,
And so, but yeah, that spot's a little different, but a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff to ride there. For sure.
I got to get back out there eventually. It's cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask about the Polygon e-bikes.
Yeah.
Because you have some experience in those.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
And we got some sick ones coming.
Okay, man. So this is like I'm just asking about old questions or old stuff, but like
stuff, and now there's even newer
there's newer stuff coming out. But I mean, for me, I like Polygon and I like the Siskiyou series.
Yep.
How about like the ride compared to like the T8 that I'm riding versus like the equivalent E?
So the only two that we have out right now in the T realm is the T6E and the T7E.
T7E, yeah, that's one.
So the T7E is pretty similar to the T8, I guess.
Okay.
As far as like the way the linkage behaves is the same. Like I find that the Siskiyou T is just a very playful bike in general. A lot of fun to ride. It's honestly one of my favorite bikes. I've ridden some really expensive stuff, and I still really love the Siskiyou Ts.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could say that I'm biased, but I had these opinions before they absorbed me, and I think that's probably part of why they absorbed me, right? Because they knew I was on fire for the bikes.
Sure.
But yeah, the Siskiyou T e-bike is really quite good.
Okay.
The rear triangle of it is being like the bars on it are being borrowed off the Colossus, so they have a little bit more like rigidity, stiffness there. Yeah,
I think
it's really killer.
I think that I don't know if I like it or don't like it, but I definitely recognize like the loose playfulness of the T series. Like it's a very it doesn't feel rigid. Like it's compliant. That's the term, right? Compliant. Complying.
It all depends on how you want to spin it. I remember Pink Bike said that it was active, and they were saying
active,
that in a bad way.
Oh,
like that the suspension like wallowed too much. But I mean, that kind of falls on how you set it up, right?
Sure.
Like I think the bikes are just really fun.
Yeah.
They're not so slacked out and long that you got to worry about, I make this turn, but they're also not so short wheelbase and steep that it feels like a cross country bike. It kind of just like strikes at really good balance.
Yeah.
At least for me and for the terrain I'm riding.
I can also attest to this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the TE bike is like, it's based off that Geo chart.
That's what I wanted to know was like, since it is based on the Geo, because you can tell, like you look at it and you're like, that's a Siskiyou. Like you can see it. Yeah. But then you see that the Colossus rear triangle and like how that works with the ride combined with
the motor.
And the weight is the other thing, because that also changed the down tube.
Yes, it did. And that's all a matter of an opinion. My opinion on e-bikes is not necessarily as positive as most. I think that they do a great job in climbing, but I all day prefer descending on an analog bike. But that's because I grew up doing that. I know some guys that grew up riding motocross, so they prefer descending on the e-bikes because it feels similar to that. So it's all matters of opinion.
Sure.
But I think that in general, our e-bikes are rock solid, and I don't know if you saw, but Mason, we have him as an ambassador now. He's on the T70 and he's out there, massive whips and all that good stuff on.
I saw the massive whips.
He's loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the massive whips. And I mean, I'm going to speak for Scott for a second. I'm pretty sure you do enjoy downhill on your e-bike.
I do.
More
I think
than
I learned on an analog bike or a pedal bike, whatever you want to call it. I think right now my assessment on mountain biking through 3 years, I feel more comfortable with more weight.
Yeah, like I said, it's just matters of opinion there.
Yeah.
For me, I feel as though it's not even so much the weight aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think personally, or at least for my riding style, that the brake technology is there. I feel like the e-bikes feel more runaway, and you got to get on the brakes a lot more.
I would agree with
a lot sooner.
Yeah. I mean, it's
and
not
you have
enough
to
to where it's a problem, but I totally can see.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I'm not saying
totally
it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Like it's just something I have to be aware of when I'm riding. It's like, oh, I got to get on the brakes sooner. Oh, I got to input the corner sooner, because with the added weight, they do just kind of want to plow.
Plow. Yeah.
And I like the bike to feel a little bit more flickable, if you will.
Totally.
And the analogs just kind of tick that box for me. And again, I grew up riding tiny 20-inch BMX bikes, so it's probably just.
So you're looking for that flick. You're looking for that lightweightedness.
That's what I grew up on. Like finding something that kind of feels similar to what I did for, 15 years. It's going to be what I'm going to pick.
I think that's what's going to happen.
BMX history. I mean, when I was a kid, 12 years old and stuff, we jumped stuff, but that's just a figment of my imagination.
Yeah. I think everybody has that same memory of the milk cart and the wood.
But like right now, it's like e-bike to dirt jumper. I get worse the lighter the bike goes and the smaller the bike goes. It's almost like I am struggling on a dirt jumper.
Yeah. I kind of get that too, though. The dirt jumpers, they're kind of getting in that realm where it feels for me now, riding almost exclusively 29-inch trail bikes. The dirt jumper feels so twitchy. It's just it's
so frustrating. It's like
it's a big adjustment.
Pounding my head in the sand because I get frustrated because I can't figure it out, and it's just. When I can't figure something out, I get stressed out.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It's tough, man. But I'm still trying. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, I always say, man, I ride my best on the e-bike.
Yeah,
and I think it's the weight. It's just the bulkiness of it.
I do love e-bikes. I still, the statement stands. So I would rather descend on an analog, but like there are some definitive benefits to the e-bikes that just can't be disputed. Like if you're the type of person that's on a time crunch and you want to get a good ride in and actually get to see a few trails, e-bike's the way to go. Like
100%.
Yeah, the
100%.
climbs are exponentially quicker.
Yeah.
There's been so many tests done with you can get burn more calories on the e-bike. You get more laps, I get all that, but you know what, at the end of the day, I've never once have I wanted to hack along like I have on a pedal bike.
Sure.
Never.
I think that if you were to ask somebody, hey, would you like to shred more? I think that's a pretty easy answer.
Yeah.
It's just like, I would love to shred more. And this bike gives that to you. It gives you the ability to shred more in a shorter period of time. Yeah. That's it.
But do I get that leg burn that I can't breathe? I think I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I've never had that on an e-bike.
Yeah. And that is the biggest sell for me as well. Is like on the analog, I still have those days where I'm at the rev limiter and I'm like, we have to stop.
That's right.
For a second. I can't do it anymore.
Me too. Me too. And I've been slacking on my workouts and I need that because I have
Isn't
to keep
it crazy how fast it goes away?
Yeah.
Like
I'm so bummed.
I'm so
bummed. Yeah.
Yeah. You can take a month off.
Yep.
During the holidays and eat some junk food and your endurance is gone.
It was. It totally was.
Totally is.
It's crazy. Yeah. I definitely experienced that many times.
I just crashed hard at Mad Hatter 2 weeks ago, so I took last week off because I weight train Monday through Friday. Like I never miss, and I go, I'm just going to take the week off. I have this big swell bow. And yesterday worked out, completely sore. And I'm like, I work out every day. I can't even take a week off, and it's like I never did it.
Yeah.
And now I'm sore. And
That's
going,
great.
Oh, yeah, so it's crazy.
That's great.
It is pretty.
That's how it goes.
That's right.
Use it or lose it, they
That's
say.
right.
Quick.
Or just get an e-bike. You lose it, then get an e-bike.
Yeah. Dude, e-bikes it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy, like with auto shift and all this stuff coming out.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
The thing that got me excited was we were at Snow Summit, whenever that was, last year. Yeah. And August.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. August 13th, my birthday.
Yep.
So yeah, we were at Snow Summit, and I saw somebody with the pinion gearbox.
Yeah.
And I said, and you were right next to me with your decoy, and I was like, man, the day that these two combine, commonplace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Pinion just released their this exactly an E gearbox, and I'm really looking forward to that combining with belt drive. So I mean, like when we have a belt driven E gearbox bike, that is, I think, what I'd like to transition to. I think that's the next phase that I would like to move into.
Yeah. I think it's definitely some cool tech. It's just so crazy because, like, if you really, like, put that on paper, like, you're right there. That's almost like a motorcycle.
You're
like a
fair point.
It's like almost
fair
a dirt
point.
bike.
Sure.
So crazy to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think the technology is really cool. I think the Pinion idea is really sweet. I wish I've never had an opportunity to try it, but I mean, it makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Like all of that is not exposed to the elements. It's like relatively service free.
Relatively, yeah.
Which is really cool. And I mean, belt drive is also cool on paper. I've had 2 belt drive bikes. They were problematic for me, but I think it's because they were cheap, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the belt does present way more tension than a chain does. And I think it was roasting these hubs on these cheap bikes. But I think on a high-end bike, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. And I think you're right, because I think that the spec needs to be up to par if you're going to throw something like that has, crazy efficiency.
Yeah.
And probably more power. I don't know that, but I'm going to guess.
Oh, yeah.
That you're putting more power down somehow with that gearbox.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure like with it being so direct mechanically.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's probably more being put to the components, I would imagine.
So, and then it's like, does tire technology have to increase and upgrade because it's...
I think tire technology does have to catch up. I mean, even with the e-bikes, I know guys are wearing tires out like crazy on the e-bikes. I've got buddies who just straight up rip knobs off.
Wow.
Out there pedaling. It's crazy. The drivetrains too go through chains like 2 or 3 times faster. Cassettes, all that stuff.
Boost mode.
Everything. Spokes are breaking left and right.
Yeah.
It's just shredding the bike apart.
Yeah, they're gnarly, dude.
Clean.
They're gnarly. Yeah. Luckily, I hadn't had any of my e-bike demos from BikesOnline long enough for them to start like falling apart.
Yeah. You haven't had to do any durability tests.
Yeah, no, I never had them long enough. I had them just long enough to put out some shorts and a review of how how it rode.
Right.
But hopefully this next one they're sending me, I'll get to keep for a little bit longer and really get to know it on a longer term. Because maybe I'll change teams and I'll be like, I do like this better.
Yeah, sure.
But we'll see.
I've been trying to go back, doing the XC rides with the girls and stuff. We did a couple Hobbs rides.
Yeah.
I brought out the pedal e-bike for that.
Yeah. Hobbs is a good place to pedal.
I think Slaughter Pen is too. I think
sure.
Yeah. I definitely see the benefit of the e-bike though at Kohler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
almost always bring it there.
Yeah.
Especially by myself,
Uh-huh.
like if I'm just going to go get some castle laps or something, it's like, it just makes sense. I can just lap the heck out of that place.
Yeah.
And no, I get that too. Definitely for the solo rides, because there's no social aspect. So when you're on those long drawn out climbs, you're just
all
just
by
dying,
yourself,
just by yourself,
dying next to somebody,
suffering in silence.
No, I love when you're like dying with somebody that you don't know, and you're like kind of in close proximity where you're kind of like breathing and you can hear each other breathing. That's the most uncomfortable feeling for me.
Yeah.
Like we're both in like uncomfortable states, We don't know each other.
And you start talking to yourself, and you feel like you're hallucinating in the desert, and
Right.
you see an oasis or something.
Yeah, back to e-bikes. So lately on my solo rides,
Yeah.
because I'm riding a lot of analog right now, almost everybody's on e-bikes.
Oh,
So like I'll be climbing up the
dude,
castle,
come on.
and everyone's just like, on your left, on your left. I'm like, dang.
That's true.
Cheater on your left. Cheater on your
Cheater on your left.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny.
So we got spring coming up. We got the Bike Fest coming up.
And you guys aren't doing anything for Bike Fest, right?
No, I wish we
Okay.
were, but it was
Yeah.
just it wasn't in the cards this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have taken a little bit more planning, and like I said, it made more sense with the way the market is right now for us to kind of just stay close to home with the
Sure.
Sedona Bike Fest and the
Mhm.
Sea Otter event.
Yeah.
It's kind of less stressful, anyways. I mean, it's cool to have all the hype of the Bentonville Bike Festival and stuff, but at the same time, it's like it's nice to just watch and go.
Yeah.
Now I can go do whatever I want.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do have the keys to the socials, so like I could probably do some little social takeover posts and stuff like that on stories. So like,
Yeah.
we can still have a presence, if you will. It's
There
just
you go.
not going to be a booth.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, should link up with Gnarkansas. We should be seen on Bikes Online.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Maybe.
Figure it out.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
could definitely talk about it.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, the one of the things another thing I wanted to touch on is I was at actually me and you were at Stay True
Mm-hmm.
Barbershop.
barbershop,
Yeah.
and I was talking to Mason in there, and we got on the topic of the entity stuff
Yeah.
and how good it is.
Yeah.
Like for a basic baseline proprietary component brand, parts brand that I guess is that specific to Polygon?
I'm trying to figure it out just through context clues.
Yeah.
I believe that entity is owned by BikesOnline, and we sell parts to Polygon
Here
to
we
complete
go.
the bikes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of entity products.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the bike rack we just put out, for example, and Phil, the fellow who was in the role before me, he is now like kind of spearheading a lot of entity stuff.
Okay.
So I believe that's how that's structured.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I just got to attest to it because like I have trashed the rims.
Yeah.
I mean, done some poor stuff to those little babies, and they just really held up. I mean, there was a day that I think I tried on the Trid. I think I probably threw 30 360s in one day and landed 10 of them.
Yeah.
You know,
So you're just begging to taco the wheels.
oh,
essentially.
and they're still like, okay, like it's all right.
Yeah. I think that, the entity wheels and all that stuff that they spec is stout, holds up well.
Yeah.
The Achilles heel is going to be weight.
Oh,
But,
sure.
But the
sure.
way that life works when it comes to cycling is it's durable, affordable, and light. But you can only pick two.
Two. Yeah.
So if you wanted affordable and durable, light is out of the picture.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's the way it goes.
Couldn't be more true.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I'm not a what do they call those gram miser?
Me neither. Me neither. Because I mean, I especially with my experience with BikesOnline, people were panicking when our new enduro bike came out because it was 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, it crossed the 40 marker. It's going to be trash. Like, oh, it's going to be so slow. You're not going to be able to climb it at all. No.
Not the case.
Not at all.
Not the case.
No. The only time you feel it, if anything, is just taking it on and off the rack. The bike climbs very
Right.
well, descends very well. Like
I swear that is the only place that weight actually comes into play is when you're putting it up.
Yeah, and it may in a race. In a
sure.
in a
Yeah,
competitive
I'm sorry.
in a
Yeah.
competitive realm.
Sorry, racers.
But that's not what we're going for.
Mhm.
Our market's more of like the miles per mile type,
Sure.
best value, what we talked about earlier. And the bikes do a great job of that. And that's not to say the bikes can't get light. They can. You just have to spend the money on the components. Like the guys who are racing EWS on our Colossus enduro bike, they got those pretty light because they're getting really nice parts to put on them.
And anyone else can do that. If you buy a bike from BikesOnline, you can just upgrade it too. And you basically can have what you want for less. I you know, this is not a paid advertisement.
No, it's true.
But it is. It's the truth.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we could spec them that way,
Uh-huh.
but then the affordability goes out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we're putting carbon wheels on it and a Fox Factory fork,
Mm-hmm.
not going to be as nearly.
Well, and I think YT does a lot of that. Like they have their, there's the core stuff versus the Scott, educate me.
The uncaged
The
stuff.
Uncaged.
'cause
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
started
so
that whole
we
thing.
compete more with their, like I would say, like with their core 1,
Core.
core 2
Mhm.
offerings.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Even a little bit now, like I would say, even some of the core 4 stuff, like for example, our N8XE that we're coming out with, which is an enduro e-bike, it's all factory, like Kashima suspension on it. XT DI2, which is Shimano's electronic shifting, so that one's gonna be pretty juicy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be exciting to see.
That's pretty. That's actually a really hefty spec build.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I should have one soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of recruiting because we have like a lot of skate friends that have been interested, and every single time it's like he's got the polygon window open, I got the
YT window open,
and we're looking at the core ones. And
Yeah, they're
right.
both great bikes.
but there's no other brands out there. Like they're just
Actually, no. Yeah, I mean the only other brand that we inserted a couple of times was Canyon.
Canyon
I think.
gets close.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Canyon is another one that we pay attention to pretty closely.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at stuff lower. I don't want to say lower tier, like lesser recognition. Maybe lower tier. I don't know. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but
No, but if you
It's
just
fine.
put the overall pricing of stuff together, like, hey, I'm gonna spend $4,000. I'm gonna spend $4,000, and you put them together. It's Canyon. I mean, that's why I ended up getting a YT because I had it down to a Canyon, and a Jeff C and a Spectral.
Yeah.
And it was just one upgrade more on all the components for the same price, and it just didn't make sense to me.
I totally get it.
And I'm just totally still greenish on everything, because I'm just older and I just want to ride, and I'm trying to learn more about the mechanics and all the components and stuff, but it was just, it just made sense, and I went with that, and I just kind of stayed loyal to it. But
no, Canyon definitely is competitive. I mean, like RT8 is often compared to their Neuron.
Neuron. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds right.
Yeah, which is it's a good bike. My wife actually has a Neuron, which is interesting. But
Cheater.
It boiled down to color.
And
And they asked me at BikesOnline, they're like, why did your wife buy a Canyon? I was like, we don't have any bikes that are pink.
Mm-hmm.
That's
fair point.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
For women.
Yeah,
sometimes.
and I mean, I've always had a problem with it. My background is in color. I used to be a lighting designer, and like I just loved color. And when I got into mountain biking, I was so disappointed by, like, I want this bike, but I get one, maybe two color options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
It's tough.
Yeah, and we recognize that at BikesOnline. So there's actually another thing coming.
Hey.
Pipeline coming down the pipeline.
I like it.
Choices.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
So
it.
that's going to be pretty sweet.
What is the company that's offering the custom color options?
Orbea.
Orbea. That is it. Yeah.
My Orbea.
Orbea. That's it.
Yeah, I think they were kind of one of the first few to bring that to the table. Yeah, I was pumped on that when I first heard about it, and so was my wife, being a fan of colors. I
There we
remember
go.
She spec'd one out, and it was
Yeah.
like $8,000, and I was like, nope.
Well, being in manufacturing, that's got to be
It's tough. Yeah. Actually,
definitely.
being able
be
to
expensive.
order.
Well, the workflow has to be nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it takes something that was once like streamlined and very boom, boom, boom. It kind of brings it to a screeching halt. It's like, okay, we've got to empty out the HVLP spray guns again and remix this color. Like that time is money.
It's not, and a lot of times you have to, when you buy the powder mix for all the colors, it's enough to paint a certain amount of bikes or boards, and you're just doing it for maybe 10% of that volume that you're going to create out of what you have to buy. And it's like now you're stuck with
You're
this
just sitting on a bag of
paint.
Yeah.
That, you know, and we get into this customized painting and shapes and all this stuff. And it's just like you either have to charge them up the yang or say no, you know. And so I imagine that's tough.
Yeah. It definitely is.
Yeah. I think that kind of having I guess this is probably how Orbea looked at this, was that they have their standard channels of production, and then there's this separated SKU that is like basically, hey, we're buying raw bikes like this, or I don't know how they if they're factory direct or whatever, but like they have raw bikes being produced as a SKU and they show up at a paint department. And then that's just like its own operation, its own SKU.
They just got primed frames.
And I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. It's probably similar to like, for example, that you see that in like the guitar industry too. Like they have these custom shops that are separate, and then they have the production models that you can go buy at Guitar Center
with like a standard sunburst or something.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Yeah.
But I mean, nonetheless, I think that it's, not saying that this is even like a female specific thing, but like as a male, like I really wanted a specific color of bike.
Oh, bro.
And I think what was hilarious, I love that my background color is this because my bike is the purple T8, and I love it. I mean, it's like it's one of my most favorite looking bikes that I've ever had.
It's a great color.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, being the social media guy, I see it. Like as we shift into these new colors, you get both sides of the spectrum. People be like, oh, I love this new color. The last one was trash. And then you have other people that are like, I can't believe you released this disgusting new color. Like, I want the old one.
And here's the other one I love is like, do you got it in black?
Yeah, we get that too.
Well, there is a whole 80s retro color vibe going on.
Sure, yeah.
I see it everywhere.
The Pit Viper trend.
Yeah, so a lot of our bikes are moving more towards like that more neutral Pantone, if you will. Like the T8 is now like a olive greenish gold metallic.
Oh, okay.
Which I have, and then the T9 is like a more like an emerald green metallic. Like they're definitely more subtle than they were in years past. No more teal to electric yellow fade.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we still have those bikes in inventory, but that's not what they're in pursuit of with the new colorways that are coming out.
It's probably trending out. Because
too much. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Like I think about, which I love the colorway, the T7 from 2020, 2021.
Yeah, the teal to yellow.
Was that the one that you reviewed? Was it that colorway?
Yeah.
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 Such a standout bike. Like it pops on camera.
Oh, in person, it's even more so. It's honestly a beautiful color.
I've seen it multiple times in person.
I think the market's just saturated, and everybody that wanted that color has it.
Got it. Yeah.
So now it's just time for something new.
For sure. No, 100% agree with that. And it's like kind of like what you're saying, Scott. Like there's only so many times you can do that before it becomes stale in the market, and you got to do something else. Yeah. And pastel. That's a great shift. I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The new T7 actually is like the polar opposite. It's like just white and black. It's very plain, but it gives people who weren't into the vibrant colorway the opportunity to get that bike at that price point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you got to see.
You did it.
Who, the white?
No, yeah, you did a white and black. Stormtrooper.
It's crispy.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good look.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a tough one for me, but I am a black and gray person. I'm not colorful at all. But I also didn't want a black bike because everybody in San Diego has a black bike.
Especially a black decoy.
Yeah. And so even though white is not technically, I don't know if it is technically a color or not, but it's not technically a color.
Depends on how you're mixing color.
It still puts eyes on you, and I'm not like that person. I don't want people staring
flashy.
at me. Yeah. I'm just like, look the other way.
Yeah, I think the bike looks sharp though. It's good.
Yeah. Stormtrooper. That's
definitely.
And I mean, like, so when it comes to the colorful bikes too, like, so this was 2020. I was looking at 2022 models in 2021, and that was the purple. So the T8 was in the purple,
Yep.
and
Then we had charcoal and copper that came out after that.
that was after though, right?
Yeah,
that was the next
after purple.
after purple. But what was the other color option when the purple released? Do you remember that?
That would have been before my time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, wow. I really cannot remember what that other option was, but I remember that I was going to go with the purple. Anyways.
I think it was like a turquoise.
Sounds right.
Yeah,
Like a darker
I think it was a flamboyant color, right? If I remember.
It wasn't the way that the T7 was, but I just remember.
No, it was a darker turquoise metallic. I
There we
believe,
go.
With orange graphics, maybe.
That's it. Orange.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
like a green and orange. Yep. And so like I was, tossing that up, and I was like, I hate this. This is frustrating for me, and I went with the purple. I like the purple now. It's great. The next release was when they did the dark gray
With
and black.
Yeah, and that with a copper.
The
finish.
accents on it.
Yeah.
I would have bought that in a second. I would have
Yeah.
bought that in 1 second.
Yeah.
That would have been the one.
I would have too.
And
It's a really sharp look, especially if you start buying like copper bits to accentuate it.
I'm gonna sell
Yeah.
my bike. I'm gonna sell it after this.
I love the purple, man. I still
Can you
love
get me the frame, and like can I get the
I
frame
wish we
somehow?
Could, I wish we could do frame only. Trust me.
Can't?
No, I can't even do it. Like I've tried because I wanted to build a completely custom SysQT from the ground up.
Sure.
Wasn't able to, so that's why I just got the cheapest one. I got the
Okay,
T6
yeah,
because I knew I was
that's
taking
right.
every part off anyway. Same frame.
Same frame.
Yeah,
Same frame.
yeah, which is like a bluish silver.
Yeah.
It's decent color.
And at that rate, you're kind of just choosing color. You're not really choosing component
Yeah,
because you're just gonna remove it all.
I gutted
Yeah.
it.
You know?
Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
custom. It's sweet though.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I might do that. I might. You know what? I actually saw this on.
Yeah, I mean that bike's
Pink.
$12.99. It's such a deal.
Yeah, it's cheap. And I mean, like, I would say that I've seen this on a Pink bike where people will do frame trade. Like, hey, I have this colorway. It's in about this much
Yeah.
disarray. If your bike is in the same disarray, you want to do a trade, and kick them $100 or something,
Yeah.
if it's better or worse. But I'm over here strategizing how I'm going to get a copper and black bike.
Yeah, there's somebody out there wanting to trade.
Oh,
man.
I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%.
There is. I'm not
There
going to do this. This is all fairy dreamland stuff that I'm not going to do. So
Yeah, just stay on.
I'm going to stay on the purple.
Yeah, just
It's-
hang on to
it'll
the
serve
purple
you
one
well.
until
Yeah.
something will come
Yeah,
along
it will.
to where you're ready to move on to the next bike.
An
or
e-bike.
Polygon bike.
An e-bike. I just need an e-bike is really
Yeah.
Yeah.
what it
I
comes
will
down
say
to.
you're pretty Polygon loyal at this
I-
point.
I think
I don't
I think
I
you'll
am.
be pleased with some of the stuff that's coming. If
Mhm.
you aren't already pleased with all the new stuff we've released.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
I
a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
mhm.
Because it's gotten to a point now that Bikes Online is influencing the spec. That's why the T9 is so killer.
I see.
Because we were like, all the shredders that are within Bikes Online was like, we want this
we need
spec.
one
on this.
more step up.
Yeah, we want this bike. So that bike was specifically commissioned by Bikes Online. So it is Bikes Online exclusive.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's
cool.
pretty sweet.
Having a T8 and needing to do some component upgrading after I got it, and I still need to do more, honestly. I think it's the Float 34 on the
Fox
on the
34
front.
Rhythm on the front.
Rhythm
and
on the front,
DPS,
yeah.
Float DPS. Right?
which I switched out the rear, but the front just I just need more. I'm a bigger dude.
Yeah,
those
check
little
out the
stanchions.
website, dude. I'm telling you, they've got
I
some,
didn't think of
we got
that.
some fork
I
deals right
didn't
now.
think of that.
Like I'm trying to think. Like DVO Diamond D1s are a really solid fork. If
Uh-huh.
you have those for a really nice deal right now.
You got me brainstorming.
Yeah, you should check it out. There really is some stuff. Like
Yeah.
if I wasn't in the position I'm in now, I would be blowing so much money at BikesOnline.com.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So much because like the deals are
Wow.
ridiculous on components.
Yeah, you got.
everything's being slashed. Man.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just seeing like the decoys and stuff, you're like, I think I need a new decoy. I mean, I don't, but you know what I mean.
But I
Dude,
could
it's-
buy one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Some of the and I think
Uh-huh.
even Canyon, back to Canyon, like they ran a promotion for a minute there on their Spectral On.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So yeah, I've seen some wild deals circulating the
Yeah.
internet.
Well.
It's definitely a competitive time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the wildest deal I think is the wildest deal to hit was the Kona.
Buy
thing
one,
with
get
a buy
one.
one get one
Yeah.
free.
So
Like, that's
so
wild.
did you see though when Planet Cyclery I think had absorbed the Vitus nuke proof stock after chain reaction or after
Oh.
the Vitus and nuke proof you could buy consumer direct here in the States for a very short period of time. When that closed, that inventory went to Planet Cyclery, and they had a sale for like 2 days, because that's how quickly they went through everything. Are you familiar with the lineup at all? Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am.
So they had
I
the
very
Vitus,
much am.
you know, the Vitus Mythic VRX,
Yes.
which
Yep.
is like a pretty spec trail bike.
Mhm.
$1,000,
What?
$1,000. Yeah, all the bikes were like 50 to 60% off.
Because it was all clearance
Yeah,
based.
they just
sales?
absorbed it all, and they decided to just dump it to bring eyes to
dump
Planet
it.
Cyclery.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Whoa,
It
that's
was
mind blowing.
bonkers.
That's mind blowing.
we're talking like nuke proof e-bikes for like $1,700. It was stupid.
There's on that would have lasted one day.
It was very rapid.
Probably people who bought a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was very rapid. I remember when it happened. I was like, "This is insane." Like
Mhm.
even I, who was not related to those brands at all, was like, $1,000 for a
Like,
trail bike. Like,
Yeah.
do I need
This
it?
is interesting.
Yeah, it's like I could at the
I'll
very
put
least. You could,
Polygon decals. Somebody's making them.
no, I mean at the least you could just take all the components off, you know,
Right.
and have a
And-
come up. Like,
Oh,
it
wow.
was ridiculous.
I bet you're probably onto something there. I bet a lot of those were sold, stripped,
to be spec parted out.
Yeah.
to be sell the
There
sell
was
the
a-
components separately.
There was a lot of entrepreneurial potential to be
Sure.
had there.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. My gears were turning, and I'm sure
Yeah.
many others felt the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you had the the capital to spend, you could have bought. I mean, I don't know if they had like a one per customer kind of a
No.
thing.
No.
Oh,
There was no limits. Like you
They
could
probably
you
didn't
could have
care.
just taken $10,000 and opened up a rental business out here. You know what I mean?
It's
Which is mental.
it's
Crazy.
the same as the big skateboarding brands are doing the same thing. They're just
offloading it.
pop up shop on a weekend in LA selling boards direct to consumer for $20.
No way.
Yeah,
Like for the deck or like
For the deck.
Yeah.
That's still killer.
Still
Yeah.
good.
I would love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So people,
Well, and a pro brand too.
Yeah.
yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Pe-
if you got $200, you got enough boards to last you for the year.
Yeah.
You know what I
Like
mean?
that's what the story that I heard where people were walking out with arms full of skateboards.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this. That's
Yeah.
wild. So
And-
it's all industries right now, I guess.
Yeah.
but
Oh
it's
yeah,
pissing
absolutely.
off shops, because shops are like those are
Oh yeah, I mean,
directly killing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would love to swing right into that. The perception of direct to consumer and bike shops.
yeah.
Like
It's
how is that dynamic with Bikes Online? Do you guys talk about it internally?
Not a whole lot, but I mean, it hits our comment section a lot.
Okay.
You know, we get a lot of comments about like support your LBS, don't buy this, don't buy that. And I mean, I understand. You know, everybody's got their mission, and some people are
There
going to
is.
make it their mission to stand up for that, and I get it. But I mean, here's the thing.
Internet warrior.
Here's the thing, though.
Keyboard
Like
warrior. Sorry.
local bike shops are finding ways to stay relevant. Some of them very relevant. Like I'm going to pull a shop that I know of out of Bellingham, Washington, the Lost Co.
Mm-hmm.
They've stayed extremely relevant. They are a brick and mortar bike shop, but they make the content, they make the online sales to stay afloat. Like it's possible for LBSs to stay super relevant, super successful in this climate. But if they fail to adapt, therein lies the problem. There are still those LBSs out there when you walk in with a consumer direct brand, they have a chip on their shoulder and turn you away.
Well,
And that's not cool.
and I mean, using myself as a case study, I bought 2 bikes from Bikes Online. Both of them have needed service.
Yeah, it
I
happens.
have to go. I had to go to a bike shop.
Sure, bikes have to be serviced.
All kinds of different needs that I had to go to a bike shop for, and other parts that I wanted to get. Like, I wanted to. I'm getting some pedals, and I kind of want to like feel them first and put them against my shoe. Like I don't want to.
Sure.
just buy blindly.
Yeah,
you know. So I'm gonna buy it from local. You know, I was telling you about the 360s. I gotta take my Trid to stay true. I'm gonna have Mason take a look at it and just true up the wheels.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I have all these needs that I needed to use the bike shop for. It didn't make a bike shop irrelevant. It actually made it more relevant.
Exactly. And that's what that's where I was headed. Is like, it's really at the mindset of the shop. Like you can look at direct to consumer as an opportunity because you're going to get all this influx of service, or you can look at it as a curse. And it really just kind of boils down to their mindset on it.
Perspective.
Yeah, because there are those shops that, you know, you have a direct to consumer brand and they're stoked to work on it, and those are the shops that are gonna kill it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, you might service their bike today, and a year from now they're gonna be like, I love the way that shop treated me. I'm gonna buy a bike. I want to buy a bike from them this time.
It might translate into buying a bike
exactly.
in the future.
And we see a lot of those kind of crazy statistics come into play with BikesOnline. One of the reasons why we're doing so many parts and accessories stuff now is because they had done an internal study where if somebody buys a part, doesn't matter how expensive the part is, there's a 17% chance that they're going to come back to your website and buy a bike. And we saw that, and we're like, that's a huge opportunity. So we could sell these people, you know, we could sell John Smith, we could sell him a set of bars, and there's a 17% chance that within a year he's going to come buy a bike from us. We need to give it a shot.
Yeah,
and you always try, like, you know, even I've bought so many parts, you know, over the COVID years, especially when you were getting that COVID money. I was buying all kinds of stuff, you know, and you tried Losco, Thunder Mountain, World Cyclery.
I bought from all of them.
From all of them, right?
They're all great.
But you're always timid with each one for the first time.
Sure.
And and it's like you buy all these different parts, but there is like a couple that are like I'll try them first, second.
Yeah.
And it's like that could translate into, if I'm going to buy a bike from a shop online,
I'm going to check them first.
I know that I'm going to get my bike.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times, so back in 2020 when he was the Polygon BikesOnline guinea pig kind of, everybody I rode with in San Diego is like, yeah, but I don't know, it seems sketchy, you know, I don't know. And I was like, well, my buddy Brandon bought his bike and he got it delivered like super fast. Then he bought a dirt jumper, got that super fast. Then all of a sudden Marco bought one. Then all of a sudden somebody else bought one. And I'm like, yeah, I got my
There's
bike.
something
like,
to it.
And it's like, I think there's just, once you start getting that trust developed, you're like,
that's what you need.
And that's one of the big things we're working on, like, especially now that I'm in the seat, is like brand perception. Mm-hmm. We realize that, and like since the day that I took the role, like I've been trying to kind of peel back those layers and like let people realize that, like, you know, behind BikesOnline is a bunch of cool dudes that ride too.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of you know, it kind of builds that trust over time.
No, it's important. It's important.
I think today BikesOnline is, I think for the most part, everybody knows it's pretty solid. And if you order something, you're getting it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, but I will say back in 2020,
it was questionable.
It was pretty.
Are you going to get a bike? Is it some kind of scam?
It was still pretty new then too. Yeah. I think the partnership with Polygon and BikesOnline, if I remember correctly, started in like 19. So it's still pretty fresh.
Right.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, they were doing their thing in Australia for quite a while.
But I think that's part of the grind, and I think they got to it, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and you were talking about brand perception. That plays into whether it be the 17% that precedes the or that, depending on which position you're in, if it's the bike first then the part next, or the part first and the bike next, either way, there's something that gets you to that first purchase.
Yeah.
And that's perception or visibility. One of the things that I would really point at BikesOnline that I thought was, you know, probably what got me was Google visibility.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like, buy a mountain bike on online or something.
Yeah.
It's like Bikes Online. Like it's very visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And you're right. You know, we see it both ways. Like there are the folks that are going to buy a part and then eventually buy a bike, but there is also a lot of people who are buying bikes and saying,
The other way
I
around.
want to get this loam lever and this set of bars real quick to, you know, spec it out even more when I get it.
You got me. I'm already I'm such a good case study.
Yeah.
I bought 2 bikes and I'm like, where would I buy my upgrade parts from?
Yeah.
Who better than the place I got the bikes from, especially now that they're offering like there's a parts department that has options and stuff like that.
It's growing. You know, there's still a little ways to go because it is fresh, but we have some really killer stuff. And the guy behind the scenes, Anthony, he's just killing it. Like he's
cool.
Shaking a lot of hands, meeting all the right people. Like he's hustling.
Oh, that's great. And
it's
then
rad.
and I mean, like I remember looking on the website and looking for parts one time before all of this, and it was like a lot, which you're right too, reading between the lines of the entity stuff, like all the entity stuff being available on Bikes Online before parts were available. Yeah. Generally speaking. So, you know, I was looking around and I was like, yeah, I don't really need any of this stuff. But I was like, I could use some suspension. You know, I could at the time I was like looking for like grips and bars and stuff like that, and like
we finally have all those
having
boxes
those
checked.
options.
It's there now.
Having those options, and it's options too, because it's like when you're shopping, you just got to have them. There literally has to be an ABC for any buyer going on to an online store. It can't just be we have one bar and one brand of suspension.
Yeah,
you know, like,
no, I agree. I like having options.
It has to be.
It definitely plays a role in the brand perception piece. Like when you see options, you're like, okay, this is a big company. Like they're legit. They've got all this stuff. Like,
well, we just brought up Chain Reaction. You know, Chain Reaction was. I mean, I think that's what I knew them for was for the variety.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I bought plenty from them in the past. Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy what transpired, but that kind of goes back to strategy, and like the thing about the whole pandemic is that it, you know, everyone was like, oh my goodness, like we have this huge surge in interest, we need to get inventory to appease all these people, and then those huge orders took forever to finally come in, and then when they finally came in, it's like the market waned and now they don't want it anymore, so you have all these people sitting on all this inventory that's just stagnant. And what it boiled down to for a lot of brands was like, who ran the leanest show? Because that's what made or broke you in that time. Like the people who ran leaner have the better chance of coming out of this.
And I think we
so much experience.
We talk about this often.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like the game was so similar. It's just exactly the same.
It's exactly the same.
And it's like all the mid-tier brands that didn't get their orders in time because all the big shots got all their stuff. They're the only ones thriving right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you hear whispers of that in cycling big time. Like there's a particular bike brand that I think I might know who it is, but I'm not going to say any names. But they're like, yeah, there's a particular bike brand that has $1 billion worth of stagnant inventory, which is
I've heard the same rumor.
Mental to think about. But you know, it's like you said, when all this hit the fan, they're just like, oh yeah, we've got the muscle. Buy it all.
They hit the buy button,
and it's like, you know, there's maybe 5 legit skateboard manufacturers, and then you find out like the big shots had orders with everybody,
all of them,
and they all got fulfilled, and they're the ones,
and now they've overplayed their hand,
and now they're pop-up shopping
in LA,
selling stuff,
selling
for $20
boards by the bundle.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's
so wild. And
gnarly.
I mean, I think that parallel can be drawn for any industry.
I think so.
now.
It's and actually, I actually point at the outdoor recreation industry. So I said, you know, we operate in mountain biking and skateboarding. I said, how much you want to bet kayaking is right there.
Yeah, I think all of them are, man.
Overlanding,
My buddy, he's an
camping.
affiliate manager for outdoor stuff, and I think he told me that like Moose Jaw, for example, like they're having to close almost all their locations except for 3. There's massive contraction going on in outdoor in general.
Yeah. But yeah, then going back to the overbuying, the other thing I wanted to add to that was, the brands that were a little smaller that ended up running lean, they needed their operating cost not tied up in product, and that's what I see as the big crutch.
Yep.
That hit everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Nobody knew when they were buying all of this stuff how that was going to affect them.
Nope.
Down the road.
Nope.
Everybody thought they were going to make millions fast, and they were the only ones with that idea.
And that they were going to be the only ones with available product somehow. I use the toilet paper analogy. It's everybody thought they were buying toilet paper, and they were going to be the only ones with toilet paper.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
case.
it just seems like it's a give and take system.
Mhm.
They just took from their future success by throwing so much in that one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
instead of playing the long game.
For sure.
Right.
And we all know that, a lot of this revolves around just new releases.
Yeah.
I have a 2022. I don't need a new bike, but I could get one.
Yeah.
And I mean, the industries, we all bet on that. We rely on that to a certain level of the users that don't necessarily need a new bike or a new skateboard, but want to get one.
Yes.
And new technology's kind of on a standstill right now, right? I mean,
bike technology seems like it's plateaued. I'm sorry, a little bit.
So things are always changing. Whether or not it's necessary, I don't know. That's above that's above my pay grade, but they're always changing things. So for example, remember there was a chase for the slackest head angle.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when the Grim Donut came out.
It's ended. It's ended.
100%.
Now you're seeing them, they're starting to steepen them back up.
Yep.
And they're adding stack. For example, if you look at the Privateer 141, if you're familiar with that bike, they just revised it. And if you look at the current generation to the previous, you can see what they did. The bikes are getting a little bit taller.
Yeah.
And they're steepening the head angle just a hair,
Mm-hmm.
because as they kept slacking them out, you get that wheel flop, floppy chopper feeling. So they're trying to kind of squash that, but still give you the descending capability. So things are always shifting, but whether or not it's going to absolutely be a game changer or make or break your experience on the trail is yet to be seen. I don't know.
Yeah, to me it reminds me a lot of cell phones getting bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller.
Marginal gains, right?
Well, and it's funny because I don't know if anybody ever looks deep into this, but when you look at social media and the memes and all this stuff, it's enduro riders make fun of XC riders make fun of
downhill
riders and gravel
or slope
riders
style
and e-bike riders and stuff. So there's always this, hi, you're a goober, you're a goober. And it's all just a ploy to make you, want to jump or want to climb. And it's so what's trending? And it's so I think geometry and technology changes towards what's trendy. Are more people into the jumping? Are more people into the XC? So
I think that is directly pointing at the growth of gravel, because
that is what is hot right now.
It's what is hot it's what's hot right now. And it kind of came from don't you want to do this, or wouldn't you like to ride like this? And then, hey, why don't we combine these two to kind of create this middle ground of two.
Mm-hmm. Gravel's interesting to me because I kind of agree with some of the folks that are these are 90s mountain bikes with curly bars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of true.
Yeah,
but I do see the appeal as well. Like my wife really is into it, so I've gained an appreciation for it. But it's an interesting topic because I've got another buddy that I think his take on it's pretty funny. He says that gravel's the worst of both worlds.
I love that.
It's like the work of road biking minus the speed, and it's the off-road of mountain biking minus the features.
Right.
That's great.
It's
I always
you
look
kind
at
of
it.
agree.
Okay,
I always
great.
look at the gravel bike as an open mind, like, hey, I'd probably do it, but it just looks like a backache to me. I
think
feel like I'm uncomfortable.
That I think is a misconception of the
Probably I'd
of
have
the
to
ride.
just try it.
well, you
but
have to
just-
get a proper fit.
Yeah.
And because I felt the same way, but I did a road biking thing for Bikes Online and got a proper fit on the road bike, and yeah, you can ride them for hours.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some road bike experience and like thought that same thing, but then I had a blast
Road
riding.
bikes are actually
It's
fun.
really fun.
They're wicked fast.
yeah, and so fast. Yeah. Like
Wicked
it's
fast.
you're like you challenge yourself and you're like, maybe if I put a little more power down, how much power can I put down and stay efficient? And you start to like get into stride.
Yeah,
And
dude,
bro, you just get like
tunnel vision.
focus, and
it's
you
gnarly.
you're riding with people, and you're like, oh, you're there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, or they're gone. You're gone.
I've got a ton
you
of
know?
respect for
yeah.
road cyclists. Like they get a lot of heat on the internet, but like, dude, those guys A are super fit,
Super fit.
but B they also are very confident to get out there on the road with the cars. Like it's
dangerous.
My only beef
Yeah.
is
It's a different
why
kind of
do
gnarly.
they choose the roads with no shoulders? That's the thing that kills
Well,
me.
because those are like those are the longest rides, like or those are the ones that like send you out.
totally.
Like you're,
Yeah,
you're going out
I totally
far.
get that.
Have you ever been on the one
Mhm.
through like Yosemite and Big Sur? It's like
No.
unbelievable.
Oh, how many bikes?
Yeah, because it's windy around the mountain along the
Oh yeah,
ocean.
I'm sure it's gorgeous.
And there's zero shoulder. There's enough room for a car. That's it. You'll come around a corner and there'll be like
Bike.
5 cyclists going 20 miles an hour
Hey,
uphill, and you're just like, are you kidding me right
You
now?
good?
No, I get that. Yeah, I can't really contribute much to that conversation because I live here. You know, like
Yeah.
when I
I'm
rode
sure
the road
I can
bikes,
be argued forever, but you're never going to change my mind. What are you doing on this road? There's no shoulder.
Yeah.
yeah,
And sometimes the attitude of it is like, you know, they look back like, get off me, and you're like, dude, you're on the road with
It's a road.
no shoulder.
It's
It's a car
road. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you know, but I still appreciate it. I appreciate it not having doing it. I know it takes a lot of endurance and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah.
But
The first ride I did was 100 miles out here in the Greenway, and it was pretty gnarly. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun though. I enjoyed it.
I just personally don't like messing around on the road. I'd love to do it on the Greenway.
yeah, the Greenways.
or
Yeah.
the gravel bikes totally make sense to me because I can go shoot over here,
Yeah,
you know, and
Mhm.
stuff. But just in traffic on the roads with cars that are with no shoulder, like
right there with you, bro.
you are just
Yeah.
asking to get
Yeah.
slaughtered.
I only did Greenway, and I only
Yeah.
would, but it's
Uh-huh.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's. I think it presents a challenge level that mountain biking doesn't have, and I think that we have a couple of friends that kind of dip their toes in all of it, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I see the gains. Like our friend Kevin is who I'm thinking of mainly, but like
super fit.
super
Yeah.
fit.
And it translates
He
into
crushes us on climbs.
absolutely.
Yeah. When we
Like-
go climb and do our enduro stuff, like he crushes us. Like we're
Yeah.
just all
Yeah.
we feel
He-
lame.
Yeah, he like crushes e-bikes. I don't
Yeah,
even know
I'm
what's
like,
going on.
It's wild.
I feel like I eat Twinkies all
Yeah.
day when I'm riding
Yeah.
with him. It's
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I got to get my shit together. you
But
know?
I
Yeah.
mean, they're cool bikes, man. I mean, like the way I see it is like, the mountain bikes we ride are like Ford Raptors, super
Mhm.
cool. But like these road bikes, they're like the Ferraris.
They're like Porsches, yeah.
Yeah, like
Right.
they're sick. You just kind of have to hop on it and experience it once, and that you'll gain some level of appreciation for it.
yeah.
I'll let
I've
you ride
been
my road
tempted.
bike.
No, I know Danny's like, I'll help you build a gravel bike, and I was like, It looks like my back would be on fire riding that thing. But
You definitely have to
You
get
got to
fit.
get sized.
Because like
yeah.
you have to remember it's not dynamic like mountain biking where you're in and out of the saddle.
Mhm.
You're going to be in one
You're
position
in one position
for
a long
hours.
time.
So sizing is like
It's
more
critical.
important.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, it's super
absolutely.
critical.
Like
Yeah.
otherwise you'll have like body parts falling asleep and like it's gnarly.
Yeah, I will say like the road bike that I have is like an extra large,
Yeah.
and it's way too big for me.
Yeah.
And I
Reaching,
feel
yeah.
it. Oh, I
I bet
feel it.
I bet
yeah.
you probably feel stretched out.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been trying to sell it, but finding somebody who's looking for, I think, because they measure it in centimeters, the
Was
height,
it like
size,
a
yeah,
60 or 58.
61.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really big.
61. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I read a 58.
I'm a 58. Yeah. But yeah, I can't find anybody to buy it because who needs a 61?
Yeah. Big fellow.
But we've hit our 2-hour mark.
No way, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't it
just
crazy?
Time
that.
flies when you're having fun.
That's
right.
right,
Exactly.
dude. I'm telling you.
That's sweet.
So yeah, do you want to shout out anything we didn't cover?
Shoot.
Tell us about any new projects that are dropping.
I feel like we were pretty comprehensive in our
Oh,
conversation. I mean, we went
for
all
sure.
over the map tonight. I can't think of anything offhand
Yeah.
that I might have missed that would be like super exciting.
Sure.
But of course, as always, shout out BikesOnline.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they've taken care of me from the get-go, from when I was just a little squirt on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. You know, they took a chance with me, sent me a bike for free, and yeah, now I'm at where I'm at, so it's been really cool.
Dude.
No, I
Yeah.
think we appreciate
And-
your presence as well, man.
Yeah, and of course, shout out to you guys for having me on. Like I said,
Uh-huh.
I've never done like an official podcast. I've done
There
some
you go.
live streaming here and there on YouTube, but like this is the first time at one of these like studios.
Sure.
It feels super legit.
Well,
Love it.
I
Mhm.
appreciate that, and I think like our goal is to just like have like conversation, like just like this,
Yeah.
where we're not trying to like grill you. There's no like ledger of questions that we're trying to burn through. We're just genuinely interested in like what's going on, and
Yeah.
we want to like share the stoke with it, because we have so many people that are interested in like, what does this all mean,
Mhm.
and
For sure.
how do you get there? Where do you buy bikes? I mean, we were talking about onboarding skaters, and skaters are pretty poor. Like it's a tough. We come from a tight demographic.
Yeah.
BikesOnline, a great option to get an affordable, solid bike for whatever your budget is.
For sure. Yeah, I would say that we're one of the leaders as far as like the entry point is concerned.
Yeah.
And as things develop within like the next couple of years, we are going to have more offerings to grow with people's riding skill and budget as well.
Dude.
So yeah, there's a lot underway. There's just so much I can't talk about yet. So maybe
love
we can schedule up another one like next year.
Oh, we absolutely could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
follow up.
totally down.
Because I've got other stories I can tell too and stuff like that, and we
Yeah.
can get into all that. So
Well, and that's the thing is like you think that you can't pack in 2 hours, and then you're like, wait a minute, it's been 2 hours
Yeah,
already.
it's
It
crazy.
flies by. Well, you're I see you all the time, and
Yeah.
you're always out there, and so I encourage people to say what up to you, ask about polygons and what you do, and
for sure.
I think you're influential to the community.
I appreciate
of
that,
mountain
man.
biking, and so that's kind of why we target
Yeah.
people like yourself to give you more exposure, connection, networking. That's
Nah,
what we're all about.
I
Yeah.
super appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because like kind of behind the scenes, even though I'm the face of BikesOnline and I'm the face of my personal YouTube channel, I'm kind of still just like an introverted dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Me
you
too.
know,
I can relate.
100%.
Yeah.
yeah, unchecked. I just kind of like keep to myself.
Mhm.
Sure.
It's nice to have opportunities like this where somebody sees the value in what I'm doing and allow me to speak for a bit and
Mhm.
kind of spread my wings, if you will.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Well,
like otherwise, I just kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chill
and
inside
I don't think that unless you're actually asked the question and a camera's pointed at you, do people know? Like, are you how else can we educate people in a deeper perspective or a deeper respect,
Right.
instead of just these? We live in this time period where shorts is something that they're pushing us towards.
Which is crazy, right?
So like
How do you get to know
how do
somebody
you
in
get to know
30
somebody?
seconds?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
It's impossible.
It
It's
is
impossible. Yeah.
And it's so competitive over here in Northwest Arkansas with brands, with content creators, YouTubers. Everything's so competitive, and it's like our approach is just networking genuine people that are genuinely trying to influence more riders, and have fun and stoke and all that stuff. And I think this is a cool thing.
Yeah, I think y'all got a pretty stacked roster. Like I saw, some of the other guests you're having on within this season looks really good.
Mm-hmm. I think this is going to sound a little corny, but I really enjoy telling the story of Northwest Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always had that's been a goal of Gnarkansas from its inception, was just like I witnessed a lot of cool things going down. How
long have you been out here?
So I've been here since 90.
Oh wow! So you've seen all the developments, right?
And Gnarkansas has been in existence since 2009. 2010 was like our official, but like 2008, 2009 was like the
2008 was like
that was when it was coming up.
Start.
Yeah.
But
when
farting around
it was more officialized in 2010, and like we had a video premiere for a skate video.
Yeah.
And we accrued a bunch of people to come watch it. It was a DVD, and we had like 25 people there. It was a very packed house.
That's awesome.
And when we left, I said to myself, nobody's going to see it after this. And that made me really depressed, because I felt so bad for all of the work that the skaters put in, the editor and the filmers and everybody that had put work into this project.
Yeah. And
they didn't get any spotlight afterwards.
Well, please tell me you've uploaded it to YouTube by now, right?
Oh yeah, we're in YouTube now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
We
so it lives in infamy now.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we were tough because we started with Vimeo, and we didn't realize that YouTube was going to be where things existed.
Yeah.
So like the first part of Gnarkansas's life lived in Vimeo.
Yeah.
And it hurt us. It hurt us. But yeah, we're on YouTube now. And eventually, like we talked about, get on like Spotify with the podcast.
Yeah.
We just don't really.
Yeah. And offline, once we're done, like hit me up, man. Like I know this stuff pretty well. Like we can talk about what it would take to elevate it.
We could use the help.
Yeah, and I'm all for that, man. Like we got to scratch each other's backs. That's what it takes to get through like the socioeconomic climate that we live in these days. You know what I mean? Like we got to lift each other up. That's the game.
Yes, that's 100%.
Well, I say we really appreciate that viewpoint working in Northwest Arkansas, because there's a lot of gatekeeping that we didn't realize existed.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've crossed a bit of it too. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And if we can collaboratively break down these barriers and show that doesn't matter or mean anything, then I think it's just going to be
not necessary.
Yeah. It's just going to be better for everybody involved.
A rising tide raises all ships, and anyone who tells you otherwise is very confused.
Yeah. I love that.
We need to fight the good fight.
Well,
absolutely.
Jared Morgan,
again,
BikesOnline, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on.
Yep.
This was really cool.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Later.
See ya. That's okay. That's the best part about this. Edit that out.